Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon and welcome to our October Town Hall. And today, the main event, we've got our Planning and Trading Director, Andrew Flintham, who's going to talk to us about some of the big Phoenix deliverables, but more in light of how they will change the way we do business into the UK. But first, I should probably get Andrew to talk about trading, but first, I'll give you a bit of an update on trading. He might correct me afterwards, you never know. But I think I alluded to last time in September that after sort of several months of it almost being boring, talking about us breaking records in trading, things have got tougher. It isn't particularly surprising. We predicted this. We knew that last year, the period after the Olympics was very strong. We also have had a hot summer this year, and that tends to dampen bookings for the autumn. And then we've had issues in Turkey, in Egypt, in Syria that have impacted bookings, particularly to the Eastern Mediterranean. So to put it all into sort of perspective, I'll give you my football score analogy. In summer 13, we were probably at the end of June. We were really on a high at the end of June, and we were probably about 5-1 up. From June onwards, July was difficult trading with the hot weather. August got a bit better, but then September and October with the autumn trading, I think some of those people had already been on holiday earlier in the year, or chose not to go. So we probably ended up sort of more like 5-3 by the end of the season. Winter 13-14 started strongly, and we were comfortably sort of 1-0 up on the early sales, but the early sales for winter aren't that significant. So again, when we got to July, it started to slow a bit. And we've seen the biggest slowdown perhaps in the last month, because what happens when the prices for October start to drop, that starts to then sort of roll into sort of November, and sort of November sales start being hit. And in particular, Egypt is sort of 10% of our program in winter, and Egypt is proving to be difficult to sell, although we are doing everything we can to try and drive Egypt back. And it's worth saying the quality scores on our holidays to Egypt at the moment are absolutely amazing, because we've scaled the program back to sort of, the real best properties. So we're getting amazing satisfaction levels because the value for money is exceptionally good. So I'd say we're probably now back at 1-1 on the winter season and under severe pressure of going 2-1 behind at the moment. The only consolation that's perhaps keeping us level is that the peak periods, Christmas and Easter, are doing very well and are actually up on last year. So despite the shoulder periods being more difficult, and long haul's also selling well, and I'll come on at the end and give you some of the scores we're getting on the 787 with long haul, and you can see why that product's doing exceptionally well. So there are some strong points in there. More important, the summer 14 season, obviously a bigger season, but again, very quite early in early sales. At one point in June, we were 15% up on sales for this season, but now we're sort of only about 3 or 4% up. So we're still up overall, but I would say, it's safe to say, once again, we've probably been clawed back to 1-1 on that season in the football analogy. Now, I have to say, our expectations as a business are really high. So when I say, we'd like to be doing a bit better, that is against extremely high expectations. And I don't want anyone to think that in any way we're underperforming the market. These issues are external issues. In fact, we've gained market share almost every single week over the summer period. So we are still, last week we gained market share both in terms of volume and revenue. So we're performing well in a relative sense. However, we do have to sort of respond appropriately to this. We're not going to panic. We're not going to do blanket reactions to this. But we are doing a bit of scaling back on some of the capacity, particularly some of the capacity we've signed with third parties, where we can get out of it on a variable basis. It's very important we monitor the market carefully and we look at what's happening and fully understand it. And then for the future stuff, we must make sure we prepare extremely well for turn of year. We're not going to stop any of the big investment programs. In fact, quite the opposite. We're putting more focus than ever, on Phoenix, on ACSS, on some of the big investments, because what we've seen this year is actually the reason why the business underlying is doing so strong is because of the investment we put in 1 or 2 years ago. And we're not going to stop that going forward. And having said that, we do need to prioritise our activity. We need to keep a grip on our costs. So we need to prioritise our resourcing so that Phoenix and those big projects are getting, the right level of attention. So we do need to prioritise and keep tight on costs. So I guess in summary, it depends where you are. If you're an absolute optimist, quite a few of my friends like Nick Longman are Crystal Palace fans, and if you're an absolute optimist and you think Crystal Palace are going to win the Premier League, then you probably need to come down to earth, look at the trading figures and realise that we're going to need to work a bit harder and keep things tight. If, on the other hand, topical at the moment, you're a complete pessimist, and because Manchester United have lost 2 games, you think they're going to get relegated, then you probably need to look at our current performance and say, actually, we're still gaining market share every week practically. The investment that we've put in the business is working tremendously well, and we're still continuing with that, and we've got an incredibly strong team of people in this business. So when the external market gets tough, actually we do relatively better because we've got to get a better team of people to manage it. So on that basis, I'm going to pass over to Andrew and I'll come back with a few sort of points at the end. Thanks.